This is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance. I'm here at the Declassify 9/11 symposium in New York City, and I'm talking with Mr. Erik. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Derrick?
Doing great. He's the founder of Firefighters for 9/11 Truth.
And Unity.
And Unity. Truth and Unity. Don't forget the Unity part, right? So I want to give you a second to first talk about Firefighters for 9/11 Truth and Unity, how you created that, and where you're at now.
Okay. Well, I started back in 2008. I was a firefighter in Seattle, and once I kind of looked into 9/11 from a different perspective, it wasn't being shoved down my throat. I went to one of Richard Gage's presentations and realized the evidence was pretty compelling, and it inspired me to start Firefighters for 9/11 Truth, and that was back in 2008. And then I was in the Truth movement for about 2 years, a little over 2 years, and had my own personal challenges, I guess would be the best way to say it. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, and I started breaking relationships and just really having a really hard time connecting and communicating with people. I felt like I had something. The analogy I've used is it's like having two abusive parents, or having parents that I trusted, and then learning one of them, they killed a sibling, and it's not even okay to talk about it. So like now I know that there's something that's not right, and I can't even talk about it. So I went into kind of a downward spiral and stepped away from the Truth movement, and I've been for the last 5 years on what I'd call a spiritual transformation, and then it inspired me to step back in. I was invited back in this year, and I would only come back in if I could bring in the unity element, and where do we go from here?
Absolutely. So what would you say was the catalyst for those big challenges? Was it just being able to finally focus on this new information and to reevaluate the world, or what was it that caused you to have those challenges, and how were you able to work through them?
Oh, the downward spiral? Yeah. It was it's a good question. It was, the biggest thing was learning that what I had been told wasn't true, was shocking enough, not being able to talk to people and not having a healthy way to deal with it. So I felt like I couldn't go anywhere. And I started giving up on myself and realized, like, what's the point? I felt like there was so much apathy around me that I stopped trying. And so I gave up on the world. I became a survivalist, actually bought weapons and started getting ready for the end of the world. And then the more I shut down, I realized I given up on my family and then myself. And it was when I hit my lowest is when what I call a spiritual teacher, a healer, came in and helped save me in a way. And
so let's get more into that. I mean, for the audience that follows my work and the Conscious Resistance, they're very aware that I also believe that this isn't just a fight against the physical manifestations of what's going on in the world, but it's an internal struggle. It's a finding balance within ourselves. And it sounds like you went through something like that. I've gone through a similar experience myself. How does that affect where Firefighters for 9/11 Truth are now? This, like you said, you want to bring in the unity now. So how has your personal journey affected the face of Firefighters for 9/11 Truth?
It's a great question too. What was offered to me from this man that I didn't know was just unconditional love. So he accepted, kind of reached out, offering to help, and I didn't know him. I didn't know anything about him, and I was kind of almost skeptical. I was really skeptical, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And once I saw that there was somebody that really cared and was listening in a way, and not listening about 9/11 Truth or that, but just the pain I was in, that connected with me and inspired me. And so what that did was inspired me to create the event on the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. Mm-hmm. So that event wasn't about 9/11 Truth. What it was about was unity, and it was about bringing the community together. And so we call it making the shift from fear to love, because I was stuck in the fear, and I was focused on that, and fear and division. And the more I focused on that, the more I saw. And with his help, I was able to shift that focus, and he had me start with learning how to love myself. And once that happened, that event, what we did was I realized that there's a brokenness in society and in our relationships and our culture and everything. And so we looked. It was a 3-day event, and we took the first 2 days and we identified 12 sectors. We used what's called the Wheel of Co-Creation from Barbara Marx Hubbard. And we looked at health, education, science, media, all the different sectors, and we wanted to identify what's that underlying brokenness, or that, the biggest issue that if we could, address that, it could transform everything. And then we identified what are some solutions today that exist that with a little bit more of our energy, like unified energy behind it, it could transform everything. So those were the first 2 days. The third day was about love and coming together in honor of 9/11. And so we had what was called a globally synchronized moment of love. And that's where we basically invited the world to focus our collective energy, prayers, meditations, intentions, whatever you want to call it, whatever your belief system is. Yeah. We invited people to just focus on healing the wounds of 9/11. And so that's what inspired that. And then what happened after that was I was on a journey because of doing that event, and it opened doors to organizations and people that I hadn't known before. And after making that shift, when I was stuck on the fear and the anger, all I saw was darkness and corruption and all that around me. As soon as I made that shift, I was able to see that there's organizations and people that for years, while I've been stuck in the anger, that have been building new systems, new solutions, new cooperative models that are amazing and can work right now if we have a little bit more, support behind these things. And so it inspired me. And the more I met these people and these organizations, all of a sudden it became clear, because what the healer had told me was that we all have roles to play. We've all agreed to be here to play different roles. And I didn't know what mine was. He didn't know what it was. He said, it's your job to figure it out. You got to learn how to love yourself first, or begin loving yourself, and then the rest will unfold. And once I was on that journey, the light bulb went off, and I went, wow, what I'm looking at is I shifted from when I was in 9/11 Truth only, I was blaming people. I was identified who I thought were the people responsible, and it wasn't until I made the shift and I went, this isn't a people problem, this is a systems problem. It's our systems that are bringing out the worst in us. So and there's all kinds of science to back this up, if we're in a system that we're supported, our basic needs are met, and we have love and compassion, we don't do the things that we see in the world today. So it became what I call a fire operation, because I see these systems, they're on fire, they're burning people, and instead of going after people, we'd never dream if we saw a community on fire, we wouldn't be worrying about who the arsonist was. It's things are burning. So as I met these people, I went, we have a metaphorical fire department here. So if we can just figure out how to connect us, then we can start applying the love solutions, action all together, and start extinguishing these fires. So that was So when I was invited to come back into the truth movement, I really didn't think I would, but once the door kind of opened, I thought more about it, and I went, I'd be interested if we can start focusing on what we're for. How do we start building the systems or uniting so that we can create new systems where this doesn't happen again? So that's what I've been saying, never again.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big important point, is to start focusing on the creation, the building of new things, rather than focused on, who, like you said, who the perpetrators are. Not that it's not important to do that research and to have that information, because if we're going to have true healing, we need to bring all that information to light. But absolutely, without some forward-thinking plan towards healing and building new systems, we're gonna drown, or we're gonna burn, as you would say. Yeah. So what's the next step, though, for you and for Firefighters for 9/11 Truth and Unity? You just released a new documentary, which we screened yesterday. Is that documentary now available to the public?
It is. They can go to right now just or actually the easiest way is ff911truthandunity.org. So ff911truthandunity.org. They can watch it there.
And any other last message you'd like to give the audience to just those who are not only looking for answers related to 9/11, but are having some of those deeper struggles that you yourself went through?
The biggest one is just my teacher told me was just, begin loving ourselves more, just looking around and loving looking in the mirror, telling yourself you love yourself, and loving each other, and knowing that we're all in this together, that the world is on fire, but we're coming together and we're going to figure out how to put these fires out together. And the more we realize that we're on the same team, the easier it's going to get.
Thank you.